My goal every week is to go fishing one day. Like I have a day where it's just, that's the goal, is to go fishing and have fun. So typically what I do is I look at the weather ahead of time, click on the 10-day, so this weekend we're supposed to get a good bit of snow, but then on Tuesday it goes to 50 degrees and an inch of rain. But then Thursday, the weather looks half decent. It'll be around freezing in the morning and then get up into the low to mid 40s. By Thursday, the stream should have dropped back down a little bit, but still be running enough. And I want to go trout fishing. It's January. One of my favorite trout streams has been really low for like a year and a half. And I feel like next Thursday, if this weather holds, that stream should be running nice. And the trout should be on the move instead of just sort of hold up in the pockets that everybody always sort of hammers them in. So far, the weather forecast is holding. It's Tuesday. We're getting a ton of rain. We did have snow over the weekend. We had a little bit of snow last night. So that we're going to start prepping for a fishing trip here in 2 days. So I had picked up these Smith bottom knock swimmers. It's supposed to be really good for trout, so I want to give them a try. I'll be throwing them on the Daiwa Gecko Bejan, which has become pretty much my favorite reel for lighter baits, but it handles everything pretty well within the range that I throw. And then I'll probably pull a few of my favorites. There's a different color that Dynamic Lures HD Trout that really does well on the stream that I'm hitting. Obviously, a couple of the Smith ARS Spinners will be in my small packs as well. And I may end up pulling a couple of the Blux Jack Claw, and then the goal will be basically these two small packs in front of my waders, and then I'll have maybe some backup stuff in the bag. But so these are the two that I'm going to build out. I'll probably also put together some winter smallmouth stuff, which will basically be like Ned rigs and jigs for the most part. Maybe one pack of swim baits. And actually, I got a bunch of stuff from mule fishing as well. So I'll probably just grab the mule fishing stuff and, again, Ned rigs and a few other basic stuff. I'll have those in the truck with a different rod combo, just in case, I say, okay, well, the trout streams are still blown out when I get up there. I'm not going to drive an hour plus and not go fishing. So I do have a couple backup spots that I'll hit if necessary. But the goal is hopefully the water is flowing good, but not so much that it's unfishable when we get up there. Do you ever have one of those moments where you're preparing to go fishing, you start looking for one of your favorite lures and your favorite color, for a specific stream, and all of a sudden you're like, am I out of these? Like, did I somehow lose the last of them and not realize? My favorite color, Dynamic Lures HD Trout, which is one of the two colors that I catch more fish than anything in this stream, I think I'm out of it. So it may force me to try something else, and I'll have to grab a couple backup lures to try instead. But dadgummit, you think you have enough tackle, and sometimes it's never enough, right? It's never enough. The one lure it's like lure number 2 or 3 that I plan on throwing, I appear to be completely out of them. I'm going to scour through some other boxes just to see if I can find one straggler, but it's going to be time to place an order with Dynamic Lures. Oh well. And then the weather's been like this, and so today I don't think the high's getting out of the teens. Now I don't mind fishing in the cold, but when it's this cold, the micro line guides on bait finesse rods, they just freeze up almost instantly. So right now it's just sort of a waiting game until we can get out on the water. So I'm headed into the mountains. It's a little bit of a roll of the dice because for the last week and a half, even the creeks and streams have been iced over. But we're having a warm up. There's been some rain. There's more rain coming. So I'm hoping to be one of the first people on one of my favorite trout streams right after ice out. There is more rain expected today. I'm ready to just fish through the rain. I'm just hoping that we can get out and get on the water. I'm where I want to be. I'm going to grab a little bit of lunch, and then we're going to go down and hit the creek, and we're going to see what happens. There's only one car here. Doesn't look like there's been a lot of people here, so that's good. Having a nice healthy lunch. Okay, I'm a little excited today. It is colder up here than it was down home, which I expected. Still plenty of snow. It's clear that this was iced over. It's clear that it's just recently opened up. So we're gonna hit the water. Okay, today I'm using the Daiwa Gecko Bejan. I've got that on my Kistler Hunt 4X rod. Got it spooled up with BFS Bait Finesse X4. I'm starting with one of my favorite lures, top producer on this creek for me, and it's the Dynamic Lures HD Trout. I haven't seen anything just yet. Haven't moved any fish. No follows that I can see. Let's work downstream a little bit before we go upstream. I was hoping the ice melt would have them really spread out instead of just in some of the deeper holes. But we may have to just fish the deep spots. It's interesting because there are still chunks of ice floating in the water. Now, I'm guessing the water is somewhere in the 30s. So this upper section actually closes here in about a month or so. I sort of walked around a different way, so I don't know exactly where I'm at. And it's definitely fairly deep here. I didn't think it was. It's the thing, this water fools you, how clear it is. Can't always tell. I mean, this is a good potential spot for trout, to be honest with you. I'm just walking right through. So I'm a little aggravated with that. I just got hit by an iceberg. Well, since I've basically had zero takers, I haven't seen a fish. I'm going to go fish a little bit deeper and maybe a little bit slower. And if this doesn't work, I might try a little bit of float fishing with some soft plastics under a small float. It's not something I normally do on bait finesse, but the water's a little icier than what I was planning on today. So we may have to have a really slow presentation. Kinds of chaos today. Got a piece of ice. Okay, let's go down a little bit further. Definitely nice that there's a little bit of water. Like, that was not really the cast I wanted to make. So far, based on what I've seen, I'm not really expecting much out of this spot, but sometimes it produces, so. Okay, been here about an hour, seen nothing so far, which is a little disappointing considering it's one of my favorite spots. The forecasted rain is starting a little bit, so I'm going to switch techniques. So I'm going to a slip float rig. This is a slotted slip float from Mule Fishing. I've got it on either a 1/80th or a 1/32 ounce mule jig with a Nico wax worm. Okay, and since it's starting to rain, let's pick up the backpack. So I just saw something down in the water over there.
And I'm not sure if it was just my eyes kind of, you know, playing tricks on me, or if I just saw a decent sized fish move. I'll tell you what, at that depth, the thing is, it gets harder and harder to cast, especially on bait finesse, as you, these things stay in there nice. So I'm actually going to drop it down a little bit lower. Time to head down to the main hole in this section and see what we can do. Pay attention, trees will reach up and grab you. Gotta get out farther than that. Well, that might have been our first bite. Didn't do much with it, but at least he hit it. We had our first bobber tap. It's just enough to pull it under. I have a rough approximation of where a fish was, so I guess it's good. Well, it's not really where I wanted to cast, but I always say it's not a bad cast until you're done and you didn't catch anything. So with bait finesse really being about accuracy, I find it hard to take advantage of that accuracy with a float setup. But times are tough. You gotta do something to try to get bit. I'll try this a couple more times, and honestly, in general, I find it boring these days. If I was catching fish, it'd probably be a little less boring, but the only positive is I had a bite. I know there's some fish in there. It's just the idea of what do I want to do about it. So, what do I want to do about it? I had my first follow. Oh, and I got him. And I got him. There we go. Come here, buddy. He followed it all the way in. Holy moly, what a day. Okay, maybe I made a mistake in not going to the spinnerbait up in the other hole, but few minutes with the spinnerbait, and I saw that one follow it clear up over a big rock, and then he stayed with it. So they're willing to chase. So I just gotta see if I can find a few more of them, and hopefully some of the bigger ones. That's one of the smallest ones I've ever caught here. There we go. Might be a brown. It might be a nice brown. Ooh, there we go. Man, that's what we're after. Ooh. That's definitely what we're after. Okay, hold on. You're so wrapped up. I'll tell you what, these fish are just not making it easy for me to let them go. Oh man, he's got somebody else's hook in his mouth right there. Look at that. Unless he broke my... There we go, fish number 2. Nice little brown trout. Let him go. Well, let's see if we can get a few more. It's already worth it. That was a nice brown. Both of those fish followed it a long way and then hit it when they were getting close to me, like when they knew they were running out of time. So let me see if I can work that same hole a little bit and getting on a pattern now. And the lure I'm using is the Smith ARS Spinner, and that was my hook part that was in there. He just shredded this hook. That's crazy. Smith usually has pretty good hooks too. So this stream was one of the, it's really the main stream that I was thinking of when I designed this 6'6" 4X model. I wanted to be able to throw light lures, go after trout, but because there were bigger trout in here, I wanted something to give me a little bit more length to fight them. So based on what I've seen so far, I doubt that I'm going to get a fish to bite coming straight out of the, you know, straight down the run like that. But it's worth a try. You know, after you catch a few fish, you feel that weight. You're sort of like, man, is that... Oh. I might as well try this. See, I let it cool down a little bit, but I might as well try that same spot a couple more times. That's wow. That shelf sort of fell in. I heard it. It sounded like a deer jumping in the water. Wonder if trout are like conditioned to sort of rush to a spot where that happens to see if there's anything to eat that fell in the water. They are. They really didn't worry about my spinner, it looks like. Basically at this point I'm just going to look for any deep holes over the next few spots. I can't recall anything else anywhere near the size of the one that I just fished. And I think I caught 2 fish and maybe saw one other one there. So I'm really not sure how much else we're going to have. So far the pattern has been they find deep water and they'll chase it out of the deep water into the shallows to feed. Because both those fish, once they... come here. Both the fish, once they decided to follow it, it seemed like they were intent on catching it as it got into the shallow water. Feet are starting to get a little bit numb. It's nice to get out here. I was happy I ended up catching a few, but it's that Smith ARS Spinner. It's, you know, one of my go-tos. It's essentially a black and gold Panther Martin. Just a little bit different design and style, but they definitely followed it. I caught those 2 fish within a few minutes in one spot, and that's it. I've barely seen anything else. So anyway, it's January. Rain's coming, a good warm-up's coming. I think this is going to be kind of flooded here in the next couple of days, so glad I got out, give it a try, and you know, hey, hopefully we'll get out sometime, a few more days, maybe go after some smallmouth, some winter smallmouth. So getting out of here just as the rain's starting up again. I gotta drive an hour and a half home. It's always easier to make that drive home after you caught a few fish, you know. Okay. Whew, I gotta get in shape. Walk up that hill was rough. Amazingly enough, there are some bugs out. That's probably why these tiny little midges work this time of year on flies.